The air was filled with a faint fragrance, the smell of strawberry cake that the child liked. The child yawned, with a tired light in his eyes. Okay, it's time to go to bed, I urged them. Suzanne smiled at me and whispered goodnight. Love you. I watched them walk into the bedroom, and the smile in my eyes faded. If I hadn't seen the WeChat message just now, I might have responded to Suzanne with a sentence I love you too, and a sweet kiss. But now, I just feel sick when he said this. I sat on the sofa, holding my phone tightly in my hand. I looked at the bedroom door, imagining the conversation between the man who had spent many years with me and the woman named Suzai, and the pain in my heart was almost unbearable. This night will be the longest and most painful night in my life, and I will re-examine my life and the man I once loved deeply in this night. I sat at the table in the study, under the light. My fingers quickly tapped on the keyboard. I typed the name that made my heart boil in the search bar, Suzai, and her social media profile soon appeared in my sight. I stared at the photo of her smiling brightly, and the anger and pain in my heart intertwined. This face, I always felt that I had seen it somewhere. There was also a hand in the photo, and I recognized it as Suzanne's hand. The wedding ring on the ring finger was particularly dazzling. I browsed her friend list, and my heart was in my throat. We actually have common friends. I quickly called this friend, and the anxiety in my heart made me almost unable to breathe. We made an appointment at a cafe. I sat there, holding the coffee cup tightly in my hand, and my heart was full of tension and anxiety. The friend finally came, and I asked eagerly, how did you and Suzai know each other? The friend looked at me, and a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. She and I were high school classmates. The friend told me some information about her. I heard she had a boyfriend at a class reunion before, and we all teased her about how long it would take to get married. She kept saying no rush, but now it seems that it's not that she's not in a hurry, but that she can't get married. Also, let me tell you, this Suzai was not popular in school. She was a real green tea bitch. When boys talk to her, she's very happy. But when girls talk to her, she stares and pretends not to hear. But often boys like what girls don't like. I exchanged a few pleasantries with my friends and left for work with the answer. The sun shines through the large windows onto the floor of the dance center. I sat in the office, holding the membership list in my hand. My eyes scanned the lines, but my heart was in chaos. Suzai, I muttered to myself. Her name pierced my heart like a sharp knife. She is actually a senior member of our dance center. I held the list tightly, and the anger in my heart almost erupted. What does this Suzai want to do? How did she get into our center? She and my husband? No, I can't think like this. If I hadn't accidentally found the WeChat message on Suzanne's phone a few days ago, I would still be in the dark. I always thought we were happy and that our life was perfect. But now, I know the truth and their secrets. It's so ironic that the enemy didn't even know that they had penetrated into their own territory. When things happen, you will find that this is not a coincidence. The atmosphere at home became more and more tense, as if there was an invisible pressure in the air that suffocated people. One day, Suzanne suddenly lost his temper with me because of a trivial matter. A cup that was not put back in place became the fuse for his anger. He never blamed me before. Even if I made a mistake, he would gently remind me. But in the past year, every mistake I made was infinitely magnified by him and became his weapon to attack me. At first, I thought it was really my own problem, and I began to reflect on myself and blame myself. But now I find that there must be a result for every cause. I remembered that when we got married, he promised me that he would never quarrel with me no matter what happened. I couldn't suppress the anger in my heart and shouted angrily, "Do you still remember what you promised me when you got married?" He looked at me coldly, without a trace of emotion in his eyes. "What nonsense are you talking about?" His voice was cold and indifferent, as if everything I said had nothing to do with him. I knew that he was no longer the warm him. He had changed, and I no longer recognized him. The air in the house was almost frozen. and every corner was filled with tension and uneasiness. The child's eyes were full of confusion and fear, and his small voice echoed in the room. "Mom, why do you and Dad always quarrel?" I looked at his innocent and confused eyes, and my heart was like a knife. "Baby, Mom and Dad have some small problems to solve. You don't have to worry, but you are both unhappy." Tears flashed in his eyes. "I don't like you quarreling." I hugged him tightly, and the pain in my heart was unspeakable. "We will solve it as soon as possible. Mom will always love you." The wind in the park blew gently, and my friend and I sat on the bench. She held my hand tightly. "You have to calm down. You have to be strong for the child." I was almost crazy. "He has changed. He is no longer the person I know." Her eyes were full of determination and support. "You can't let them continue like this. You have to think about the future of you and the child." I looked at her. Despair and determination intertwined in my heart. I will find a way out." Under the lights of the dance center, I sat in a circle with several of the most trusted employees. I was going to ask them some specifics about Su Zai's coming to class. An employee frowned and replied, "She always asks about your family and some internal issues of the center. Her questions make people feel uncomfortable, as if she is prying into something." I stared at him closely. "What does she ask the most?" The employee pondered for a moment. "Mainly about the financial situation of the center and your relationship with Mr. Su." "Yes." Another employee continued. "Once, I mentioned that the number of students was decreasing, and she actually said that if the center couldn't continue, she would take over. We didn't think much at the time, but now I think she seemed to say that on purpose." My heart tightened. "What else did she say?" The employee recalled. "She also said that if she took over, she would make it better." I clenched my fists, and the fire in my eyes almost erupted. "I know. You go to class first." As soon as the employees left, I took Su Zai's membership registration form and looked at it for a long time. This woman, buried it for so long. What on earth is it for? No matter what she wants, I won't let her succeed. If she wants a man, I'll give him to her. I'll play with the rest. But she can't even think about the dance center. I was just a small dance teacher at first, and now many competitions have invited me to be a judge. From the dance studio to the current dance training center, only I know how difficult this journey is. I looked at the class schedule. Su Zai has a class today. I stood outside the classroom looking for Su Zai. My eyes kept searching, and finally, I found her. In the corner of the classroom, I saw Su Zai. Her movements were perfect, and she didn't look like a student who needed to come to class at all. Su Zai's eyes flashed with cunning and complacency, and there was a sneer on the corner of her mouth. She saw me, walked out of the classroom and walked towards me. "I see you've been looking at me. What's wrong?" There was a hint of provocation in her voice. I stared at her closely. "I want to see what kind of vixen seduces other people's husbands." She was surprised at first, but soon showed a mocking smile. "It seems that you know everything. Not only your husband, but everything you have will belong to me." Her words were full of sarcasm and contempt. I took a deep breath and tried to calm the anger in my heart. "Why do you think you can take everything from me? Do we have a grudge?" I looked at her firmly, with endless determination and anger in my voice. She smiled contemptuously. "I just want to see you in disgrace." There was a hint of sinisterness in her eyes. I stared at her. "Why?" She came close to me, and I could almost feel her breathing. "Because seeing you lose everything makes me feel extremely happy. Let's get a divorce." I looked at Suzanne, my eyes full of determination. The atmosphere at home became more depressing, and Suzanne's eyes were full of confusion and indifference. "I tell you, I will never get a divorce," I retorted angrily. "Why? Do I have to accept you being with another woman and living a silent life?" There was a hint of indifference in his eyes. "I will handle this matter. Don't even think about divorce." Suzanne is like this, always looking high and mighty. When I first got together with him, I felt that this man was very safe. He would choose the date location in advance and choose the restaurant considering my taste. He never asked me, where do you want to go today? But let's go. I'll take you somewhere. When we got married later, he went to my house to get my parents' consent before proposing to me. The wedding was also in the new Chinese style that I like. It was not accidental that I got pregnant. He contacted a doctor to regulate my body and ensure that I was in good health. He would ask for my opinion before doing anything. My life with him has always been in order, and I can trust him with everything. If I hadn't seen that text message, our life might have continued like this until we were old. Leave everything to me. I will solve it. You just go to work and take good care of the children. These things are my fault, and I will find a way to make up for it. There was a hint of helplessness in his voice. I sneered. You make up for it? What can you do to make up for it? I just feel sick when I look at you now. He stared at me coldly. Are you really going to give up our family? You chose to give up first. I just fulfilled your wish. My voice was full of tears. I won't agree. He turned and left, leaving me alone. I stood in the center of the dance center. My eyes swept across the faces of every employee. I know that some things have affected everyone recently, I said firmly, but at this time, we must unite more. We can't let the rumors from the outside world affect us. The employees began to talk in a low voice. Some people had a flash of doubt in their eyes, and some people frowned tightly. I looked at them and understood their uneasiness and worries. I will not let this place I carefully built collapse. This is not only my hard work, but also everyone's home and future. The streets after get-off work seemed particularly deserted. As soon as I walked out of the door of the dance center, I saw Su Zai leaning against a car. She walked up to me with a sneer on the corner of her mouth. Do you think you can win? You will regret it. I felt a burst of anger burning in my heart. I clenched my fists and stared at her firmly. What do you think you will get? You will end up with nothing. Do you think you can get everything you want through conspiracy and intrigue? Su Zai showed a malicious smile on her face and turned away. That day, after Suzanne went out, I followed Suzanne from a distance, my heart full of doubts and uneasiness. He walked through the bustling streets and came to a secluded alley. I saw him sitting with Su Zai, both of them with a dark smile on their faces. I hid in the dark and listened to their conversation nervously. I tried to hold my breath and dared not make a sound. Suzanne's voice came through the silent night sky. I can't divorce because I have a child, he said indifferently. There was no guilt or hesitation in his voice, as if he was discussing a trivial matter. Su Zai chuckled, her voice full of pride and sarcasm. Don't worry, I'll wait for you. So, this is what you call compensation? Is this your respect and cherishment for our marriage? The lights in the dance center were bright and the music was jumping in the air. I stood in a corner of the dance studio, looking through the mirror at every dedicated employee. The joy in my heart could not be expressed in words. Seeing everyone's efforts and dedication, I was deeply relieved. In order to reattract the lost guests, our team planned a series of new and creative activities and carried out more rigorous professional training for employees. I walked among the employees and explained the goals and content of the new activities to them in simple and direct language, emphasizing the importance of everyone's professional quality to the center. Together, we developed a new publicity strategy to vigorously promote our dance center through social media, flyers and word of mouth. We want every guest to feel our enthusiasm and professionalism, and we want the beauty and power of dance to touch their hearts, I said passionately. We want to use our actions and love to revitalize this center. The atmosphere at home became more and more tense, and everyone's face was full of dissatisfaction and pain. The child sat in a corner, with confusion and fear in his little eyes. Why are Mom and Dad always unhappy? The child's voice was so small that it was almost inaudible, but every word was like a sharp knife, piercing my heart. I looked at the child's helpless eyes, and my heart was filled with pain and anger. I knew that all this was because of that woman. It was because of her appearance that our home became so uneasy. The situation at the dance center was getting worse and worse. The employees gathered together and whispered, their eyes full of dissatisfaction and doubt. Can we still follow her? She has enough things in her own family now. An employee whispered, his eyes full of doubts and worries. I stood aside, listening to their discussions, my heart full of anxiety and disappointment. I knew that I had to win back their trust. I had to let them know that I would protect this center and our home. I took a deep breath and walked towards them with a firm look. I know you have a lot of doubts, but I promise that my private affairs will not affect the center. I will protect this center and our home. My voice was firm and my eyes were full of determination. The employees looked at me, and a glimmer of expectation and trust flashed in their eyes. I know that I can't let them down. I must defeat that woman and protect our home. The people in the dance center are in a panic. Su Zai stood in front of the employees, her face full of pride and cunning, as if she had seen everything she was about to get. This center will be mine, she said sarcastically, her voice full of confidence and contempt. The faces of the employees became very ugly. They didn't understand why this woman was so arrogant and why she was so shameless. I listened to the employees telling me what happened in the dance center just now, and my heart was filled with anger and shock. I can't let her succeed. I can't let her destroy the dance center I built. I stood in front of the employees and clenched my fists. She actually wanted to destroy our center and take it for herself, I said angrily, and every word revealed endless anger. We can't let her succeed, I said firmly. The employees' eyes flashed with determination and faith, and they all expressed their willingness to join me to defend our dance center together. As night fell, I just walked out of the dance center's door and saw Su Zai standing downstairs, her eyes full of sarcasm and contempt. Her appearance made my heart tighten, but I forced myself to remain calm. Let her see my uneasiness. Su Zai deliberately took out her mobile phone and pretended to check the schedule. Her movements were deliberate and artificial. Then, she said triumphantly, "Oh, I'm going to the hot spring with your husband tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it." I listened to her words, and my anger surged in my heart. But I suppressed the anger in my heart and responded with a smile. "Oh, really? I wish you have fun." I tried to keep my voice calm and friendly. I gritted my teeth and thought to myself, okay, you go. I will make you regret it. Su Zai looked at me, and a wicked smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. She seemed to have seen her victory. The next day, I came to the hot spring resort that Su Zai mentioned with a heart full of anger and unwillingness. I hid aside, staring at her and Su Zai sharply. They walked hand in hand to the hot spring area together, with a relaxed and proud smile on their faces, as if everything was under their control. After the hot spring, they talked and laughed all the way to go upstairs. Su Zai deliberately raised her voice loudly. I followed closely behind, secretly determined to expose their crimes and make them pay for their actions. They entered the room, but Su Zai did not close the door. She seemed to deliberately let me see everything about them. I saw their intimate scene through the slightly open door. Su Zai deliberately said ambiguous and provocative words, and her eyes looked at me from time to time. Her eyes were full of provocation and ridicule. "Do you like this, Zayn?" she whispered softly, her voice full of temptation. Her movements were gentle and seductive, completely a cunning fox. I looked at Su Zayn's satisfied expression, which was really disgusting. At this moment, both of them had their backs to me, completely immersed in each other's world. I quietly took out my mobile phone and started recording. I want to record everything about them, and I want them to be unable to turn over. I want to let them know that betrayal and deception will pay a heavy price. I decided to make this video public so that everyone can see the true face of Su Zai. I sent the video to her parents and uploaded it to the internet without hesitation. I want to make her know where to hide. Soon, Su Zai came to me angrily to argue. Her face was livid, and her eyes were flashing with anger and panic. Her fingers trembled as she pointed at me and roared hoarsely, "Why do you do this? You are destroying me." I looked at her coldly. Without a trace of pity in my heart, I said calmly, "A person who wants to be a dance teacher actually did such a thing. How can you convince your students and parents? How can you convince your family?" Su Zai's face became even uglier, and her reputation on the internet had plummeted. She had warmed up in advance, saying that she would open a dance center, and many parents had signed up and looked forward to her teaching. However, as soon as this video was sent out, parents began to scold her angrily. The internet was full of abuse and accusations against her, and her reputation almost vanished overnight. "You vicious woman." Su Zai looked at me with gnashing teeth, her eyes filled with endless hatred and resentment. I looked back at her fearlessly. "You ruined yourself. What you did will make you pay the price sooner or later," I said firmly, without a trace of retreat in my eyes. Su Zai's qualification certificate was revoked because of this incident, and she could no longer carry out dance teaching-related work. All her efforts and dreams were shattered because of her own behavior. The atmosphere in the court was so oppressive that it could almost be cut apart. I stood there, confronting Su Zaiyan. Our eyes clashed. Sparks flew, full of determination and anger. "You don't deserve our child at all." My voice was firm, and every word seemed to pierce his heart with force. Su Zaiyan's face turned pale in an instant, and a trace of anger and helplessness flashed in his eyes. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say anything to refute. He knew what he had done, and he knew that he didn't deserve our child. The judge was hearing our case seriously. I held my hands tightly, my heart full of tension and expectation. I must win this lawsuit. I must protect my child from him. I stared at Su Zaiyan, who was sitting opposite me, and the anger and disappointment on his face could not be concealed. The judge finally announced the final verdict, and I won the custody of the child. "You asked for all this." I looked at him calmly, but there was a hint of satisfaction in my heart. All his suffering was caused by himself, and he had no right to get our child. Su Zaiyan glared at me angrily, his eyes full of disappointment and hatred. "You will regret it," he roared, his voice full of endless hatred. "But I know that the person who should really regret it is him. He lost everything, and it was all destroyed by his own hands." I sat by the child's bed, holding his hand gently, my eyes full of warmth and determination. "Mom will always protect you," I said gently, my voice full of love and protection. The child's eyes were full of sadness and confusion. He didn't understand why his parents couldn't be together anymore, and he didn't understand why the family had become so restless. I tried my best to explain to him the reason for the divorce, and I told him that no matter what happened, my mother would always protect him and love him. When I was sorting out old things, I accidentally found old photos with him. How happy we were then, I whispered to myself, with a flash of tears in my eyes. Those good times are gone, leaving only memories and pain. I put away the photos, turned around and walked out of the house. The door of the dance center was open again, and the sun was shining in every corner. I stood under the stage, watching the dance center gradually recover its former prosperity, and my heart was full of relief and hope. "I'm finally back," I said with emotion. My eyes were full of tears. I sat in the office, holding a pile of old videotapes in my hands. I planned to review my time. Suddenly, a familiar face appeared on the screen. It was Su Zai. My heart beat violently, and scenes of the past came like a tide. I remember it was a gloomy afternoon, and the physical reasons in the late pregnancy made me extremely irritable. Su Zai walked up to me, with a hint of nervousness and respect, and tried to discuss some details of the dance with me. But I said nothing, looking at her with cold eyes, and a hint of sarcasm on the corner of my mouth. I remember saying, "Do you think you can become a dancer by learning a few dance steps? Your dance is simply a joke." So everything has a reason. I came to find Su Zai. She was sitting alone in the living room of her house, looking very haggard, completely different from the way she looked when I saw her in the dance studio. She said in a trembling voice, "Do you know, I was full of love and confidence in dance at the beginning, but it was you your indifference and ridicule. That pushed me into the bottomless abyss. I looked at her haggard face, and my heart was in pain. I said, "So you choose this way to retaliate against me, to torture me and yourself?" Her eyes were full of tears, and she said, "I just want you to know how desperate your indifference and ridicule will push a person." Back home, I sat alone in the living room of my home. All around was quiet, with only the ticking of the clock echoing in my ears. I closed my eyes and replayed every moment with Suzanne in my mind. Every quarrel, every cold war, was clearly presented in front of my eyes. I whispered to myself, leaving him is the best decision I have ever made. At least, I can be myself. The lights in the dance center were bright and the music was passionate. Today, we held a large dance performance to celebrate the dance center's rejuvenation. I stood on the stage, looking at the cheerful staff and students below. My heart was full of hope and excitement. Our future will be even brighter. I inspired everyone, and my eyes were shining. I know that after all these hardships and difficulties, we will become stronger and more united. The dance center is full of vitality again, and it has become our common home again. I walked off the stage, and the staff and students came around. We hugged each other and celebrated this important moment together. A young dancer said excitedly, "We will work harder to make this center better." I smiled and nodded. My heart was full of relief. At home, I sat with my children and snuggled together. The child's eyes were full of trust and dependence, and he hugged me tightly, as if I was his only support. I stroked his hair gently, with endless love in my heart. I will protect him and accompany him to grow up. I will give him all my love and the best life. Mom, I love you. The child's innocent eyes were shining with star-like light, and his voice was crisp and pure. I love you too, baby. I kissed his forehead gently, my heart overflowing with happiness and gratitude. I looked at the starry sky outside the window and made a wish silently in my heart. After so many ups and downs, I know how to cherish everything in front of me. I will continue to move forward with this gratitude and love, and greet every day in the future.